Few weeks ago, I made it on my post on social media, and I'm sending a message to the world now. And I said, there's a man called Pantami, the former Minister of Communication and Infrastructure, whatever it is, and Digital Economy, under the administration of Buhari. And I said, such a man is already being groomed to become a governor of Gombe State. Follow me. And I said, such a man can never or should never be allowed to become a governor of a state. And I said, I'm going to, people say, why? This one I'm going to tell you why. And many do not understand, but I'm going to tell you why a man such as Pantami should not be allowed to lead a state like Gombe. Gombe State consists of about 30 to 35% Christians. And such a man must not be allowed in any way to become a governor of such a state. Why? There was a meeting that was held on the 13th of July 2010 by an association, an organization called JNI. JNI stands for Jama'atul Nasrul Islam. The 4 chapters of Kaduna, Plateau, Bauchi, and which other state? And Niger State. They held a meeting in Bauchi State. The JNI, so they have, each state have their own chapters. So the state chapters have a collective meeting in Bauchi State on the 13th of July 2010. And this meeting was headed and chairmaned by Pantami. And what is the cause of this meeting? The purpose of this meeting is that they said Christianity was already growing too much in the north. That Christianity was already growing too much, and that it is already bringing attack on Islam. That was the purpose of the meeting. Are you follow me? The meeting was held at the Bauchi Central Mosque. This information I'm giving is available to those that want to see. I've had this information with me for the past few years, but I've not spoken about it. But election is coming now. And such a man, you see, one thing we have done in Nigeria is that we have allowed men that have evil intention to rise to the position of power. And when they get there, they exercise their power and dominion. Just like we saw a man called El Rufai. When he became a governor, go and ask them in Kaduna what he showed the Christian communities in Kaduna. Go and ask them what he did to them. He showed them shake a banza in Kaduna. And now a man like Pantami is already vouching for part of a governor also. And they said, this is a worrisome thing. That because in the south, east and the southwest of Nigeria, that it is predominantly Christians. And that Muslims have been subjugated in the south. And so here also in the north, that Christians are already getting too much ground. And so they needed to address the growth of Christianity in the north. What is the aim of this meeting? Number one, to address the growth and the spread of Christianity in the north. That they feel that Christians are growing too much. The momentum of Christianity is growing too much in the north. And so they felt we need to caution it. We need to shut it down. Because Christians are growing too much. They're already getting too much momentum. That was their first aim. Their second aim and objective is to report anybody that has been mistreated, that is a Muslim, against the religion of Allah. When they say the religion of Allah, you know what I mean? Islam. That any Muslim that has been mistreated should be reported in every part of the north so that they can take action against such a person. Their third agenda, they felt that there's some part of the north or the part of the north that Muslims have been maltreated. And so their job is to ensure that they deal with anybody that maltreats Muslims in the north. Their third agenda is to re-strategize towards the full implementation of jihad in Plateau State. So whenever you hear they say there's killing in Plateau State, they kill 20, they kill 30, they kill 50. It is a fulfillment of this meeting that they had. 2010 to this time, how many years ago? 16 years ago. What you see manifesting now, 16 years. Even though in Plateau State they have been having a lot of attack, but you see it has become more aggressive as a result of this meeting. And who is the leader of JNI in Nigeria? The leader or the supreme leader of JNI, Jama'atul Nasrul Islam in Nigeria, is Sultan of Sokoto. And when the other time I said the man is complicit, they thought I was lying. They thought I was being, I don't know what I'm saying. What is jihad? Jihad means Islamic war, holy war on unbelievers. So they wanted to implement jihad, to bring about the full implementation of jihad. Instead like Plateau, instead like Kaduna. And number 4, for the liberation of Kano State, to ensure that they subjugate Christians completely and elevate the status of Islam in Kano State. That was their purpose. Look at it, according to the statement. They said, we are aware that Christianity has humiliated Islam in the southwest, and thus Islam can no longer thrive there. We are treated with contempt unless Nigerians in that part of the country. I'm reading the minute of the meeting now. It said, furthermore, the Christians brought out a scheme so as to get rooted and get liberated in the north. They brought what they call the middle belt. So they felt that it is Christians out of their liberation, out of their grave for to get liberated, they form what is called Middle Belt today because they wanted to separate themselves from the North. And they said the part of the North that is being usually referred to as the Middle Belt are usually the Christian dominated places. That it is part of the scheme to dominate them, the North. So therefore they have to shut it down. They said the Middle Belt called the Christian dominated areas and is being championed by Plateau bigwigs. They felt that the part of Middle Belt, they said that the idea of creating the Middle Belt was championed by people from Plateau State. And so therefore, they must rain hell on Plateau State to ensure that the mandate and the vision of carving out Middle Belt does not succeed. Because they feel that Plateau State is the one championing the cause. This is one of the reasons why you find that every single time there is attack on Plateau. What I'm saying this morning is not a new thing. What I'm saying this morning is something that some have the understanding of, but nobody wants to speak about it. And the more we cover things like this, evil is like sin. It thrives in secrecy. The more you keep it secret, the more you gain power. The first way to counter evil is to expose it. They say the Christians have now extended not only into the remote areas in the north, but also into the cities, as well as our Islamic leaders who have moved. So they said there is a mandate that the Islamic leaders have given them, that Christianity in the north must not grow into the cities, into the metropolis of the north. That Christians should remain in the suburb areas, in the villages. But now that Christianity has grown into the, and they said the leaders that gave them this mandate, they mentioned their names here. Number one is Emir of Sokoto, Tijani Babangida, Alhaji Abubakar Gumi. So when you see Gumi doing all those nonsense, he's back. These are the people that give them the orientation and the ideology to do jihad. I'm calling their names this morning so that you know that I'm not playing. Emir of Sokoto, Tijani Babangida, Alhaji Abubakar Gumi, Alhaji Shehu Megnuda, Malam Sukar, Kamarja, etc. That they have given them a mandate to ensure that Christianity does not grow into the cities as part of the north. But now they are seeing big churches in the north and they must bring it down. The mandate I can give to them is to ensure that anywhere they see big churches in the north, they must pull it down and raise a mosque there. This is because they feel that it is against the Quran for a church to be standing side by side with a mosque. They say it is against Quran, it is against the tenet of Islam for a mosque and a church to be standing by side by side. So anywhere there are big churches, and again the people that gave them the mandate are Sheikh Gumi, Abubakar Gumi, Sultan of Sokoto. What's that his name again? The Sultan of Sokoto, the Emir of Sokoto, Alhaji Shehu Megnuda, Malam Suka Kamadia, and the rest of them. That they must not allow mosques to grow, the churches to stand, big churches to start in the north. So they must ensure by all means they bring it down. I'm not going to say all today. What I'm giving today is just one side, because the meeting is long. We still have to preach today. But I need to expose this, so that such a man must not have the power. How does such a man see that? Do you know that his position that he held under Buhari was a compensation for his atrocity or for his part the party has played in the fulfillment of the jihad in Nigeria? So they compensated with an appointment, not because of competency. When he held the position of Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, it was Buhari compensating him for his role in jihadism in Nigeria. Until you cannot take away from Islam that they are strategic. They are good planners, they are very intentional, and they are strategic. And now that they are pushing to become a governor, there's a plan. Christian and all this while, Christians are just moving on. We don't even understand that every day they keep killing. If they don't kill today in Nasarawa, it is in Kaduna. Every part of the northern Nigeria where there are Christians, they keep annihilating Christian. And the Christianity do not do anything, they're just moving on. But you see the plan. I'm telling you, look at it. Are you seeing plans, strategies? As far back as 2010, there are some that they started for as far back of 40 years ago. And they said to checkmate the growth of Christianity in the north, all Islamic clergies must pay visit to the state governors of the northern state and the traditional rulers. So for them to be able to checkmate the growth of Christianity in the north, they have to pay visit. That all the Islamic cleric must pay visit to the governors of the northern state and the traditional rulers in the northern state. What do they do? Number one, that they must develop a policy to see that all churches built in their respective state capitals are demolished to allow a mosque in the state capital, in the city capital. All our pastors are busy building 2,000 capacity, 30,000 capacity, 150,000 capacity auditorium. These guys are strategizing on how to ensure that they capture the church, how to ensure they cripple the church. This is as far back as 2010. I'm not speaking English. The security operator of the they have information to this thing I'm saying. DSS know of this. NIA know of this. National intelligence agents, they know of this thing I'm saying. But nobody will act. Are you following me? I pity Christians in Nigeria. I'm telling you. You have no idea what they have planned for you. That was their plan. By so doing, providing the Christians specific areas. So they will have to take some specific areas and give to Christians. Recently, somebody sent me a message. And he sent me, was it in Kano State? I can't remember now. And he sent me that there was a land that the church bought to build. And the government of the state collected the land. They confiscated the land. This is part of the strategy. To ensure they don't build big churches in the north. And so wherever there are big churches, the governors of the state must ensure by all means, using his veto power as the governor, to confiscate it, pull it down, and allow Islam and allow mosques to grow there. They said they will not give, the government will not give some areas to Christians to build their churches, and it will be in the remote areas. And they said they will call the place Church Street. Is there? Number two, what was the second aim? For them to do, what are the second thing they intend to do? They said Christian preaching in the streets. That Christian preaching in the street in their respective state, that the government or the governor of each of those other states must ensure that Christians preaching on the street must be stopped and abolished. Any Christian found preaching on the street must be what? Must be persecuted. This was the reason why they killed Evangelist Eunice in 2016 on the street of Abuja when she was preaching. She was on a morning cry in the morning, preaching in the morning, and they killed that woman on the street. Until today, nobody did anything about it. Because they know that it is Christians that do that. It is Christians that have the mandate of going into all the world and do what? And preach the gospel. So that Christians must ensure, that the state governors must ensure that preaching of the gospel on the street must be abolished. And anybody that is found must be persecuted. This was why they have the temerity and the audacity to kill Evangelist Eunice when she was preaching on the street in 2016. Till today, nobody did anything about it. Not one person was arrested. Number three, they say as it is the case of Kaduna State during Governor Umar Musa Yaruada, a ban should be placed in all northern states governed by Muslims on the teaching of Christian religious knowledge on schools. That they must put a ban. That's what you found out today. Do they do CRK in schools again? Do they still do CRK? There was a time we used to do IRK, Islamic religious knowledge. There's CRK. Is it CRK or CRS? CRK, Christian religious knowledge. They said they must ban it in the north. Every northern state where there are Muslims, the governors must ensure that according to the way it was during the days of Musa Umar Yaruadua as the governor of Kaduna State, they must ensure that Christian religious knowledge must not be taught in schools again. Today, there is no more CRK. What we have is religious and national value. They intentionally remove Christian religious knowledge and make it that they're doing what they call religious and national values. You see when I say they're strategic. This meeting was in 2010. It took them about 10 years to fulfill it and they're happy. You have no idea what they're planning for you in Nigeria as a Christian. When you see me shout on social media every day, it's because we have idea. We know. We have seen the plan. We have seen the blueprint. We know their schematics. And our job is to ensure it does not come to pass. Number four, they said, place a ban on Christians using public address system during services. These demands will be adhered to and adopted by the Muslim governors for the interest of peace. That they should have that. We have more control of the masses. And it wants that any attempt by the Christians to query or revolt against the decision shall mean fighting against the religion of Allah, which the followers of Allah shall not watch, but we shall violently wipe away the Christians in this state. This meeting was when? 2010. Is it being executed today? They shall violently wipe away Christians. They kidnapped some Christians in Kwara State recently, in Woro community in Kwara State. And they took them to the bush and converted them to Muslim. And do you see it? I made a video about it. And they told them to begin to recite the Shahada. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I'm saying it because I was a Muslim. I know. There is no God except Allah, and there's no prophet except Muhammad. That's the meaning of what I've just said. And they converted Christians to Muslim in the bush. What is our GOs and leaders are doing? Nothing. What are the Christian bodies doing? Nothing. You see how long it took them? They said they shall violently wipe away Christians in this state. Is it happening today or not? It is happening. This is 2026. This plan was in 2010. I'll stop there for today. I won't go further today because I still need to teach God's people. Are you following me? But you must understand. What I'm saying is that you can't be in a nation that you are not aware of what is happening. The ignorance of Christians and Christianity has brought us to where we are today. Where Christians have become a lamb or sheep that have been slaughtered anyhow. You will not be surprised that before the end of today, there will be an attack. Just by the time you finish from there, just go, you'll see, before the end of today. And this is, they are all working according to it. That's why a man like Sheikh Gumi should have been locked away. I've said it over and over. The US must ensure that they lock the man away. Ban him. Sultan of Sokoto must not be allowed to travel out of Nigeria. Ban him. These are jihadists. They are terrorists. A man like Pantami, because you see them in the north, let me tell you the way it is in the north, they don't care about infrastructure. All they care about is Islam. So even if they know that you are killing, that's why you see that there is poverty in the north. Oh, am I talking to people this morning? There is poverty in the north. They don't care about them. All they know is that, is this person furthering the cause of Islam? If it is furthering, no problem. They'll keep supporting him. They have been brainwashed. How do you want to live in a nation with such a people? There is no Nigeria. Are you following me? Watch and what? You have not been watching. This is a plan that was orchestrated in 2016, in 2010. They waited. They took time. Have you ever asked yourself, where did the Fulani man, a common Fulani man, get the money to buy AK-47 with ammunition? Where did he get the money? One AK-47 cost about $1,020 something. Where did he get it from? I'm going to tell you next week where they get their weapon from, how they connect with the military men, with some jihadists, top jihadists in the military, how they get their weapon. I'll reveal it when the Lord, it could be next week, it could be when the Lord will permit me. This is what the Lord permit me to do today. I've done. We will not be silent. That's one of the reasons why Claire will bring down every activity of Islamization in Nigeria. Rise up your feet, wherever you are. Say, Father, in the name of Jesus, every activity of jihadist, of Islamization on Christians in Nigeria, this morning we frustrate it. Talk to God in 1 minute.